What if a single handshake vanished from every official record? No photo, no video, just a memory shared by those who were there, and silenced ever since. In 2011, Xi Jinping met someone he was never supposed to. The photo was taken by 5 cameras. And yet, in every official archive, the moment doesn't exist. The photographer disappeared. The other man was erased. And he's never spoken about that day again. But one forgotten image has resurfaced. The building was nondescript, one of those gray-bricked, CCTV-wrapped complexes in the Chaoyang district of Beijing. Officially, it was listed as a historical archive annex. Unofficially, it was where moments were buried. On a chilly morning in October 2024, an intern named Wei Min opened a mislabeled film canister. Inside, a single roll of undeveloped negatives. They were tagged, Tianjin, November 2011, Regional Coordination Conference. But there was no record of such a conference. Not in government databases. Not in media archives. And certainly not in the public schedule of Xi Jinping, who at the time was vice president. The first few frames were standard fare, banquets, speeches, men in suits. Then, halfway through the roll, one frame caught Wei Min's eye. A handshake. Xi Jinping, facing a man whose face was unfamiliar, older, Western, clean-shaven. The image was sharp, perfectly framed. 5 men stood in the background, all mid-blink. One looked directly at the lens, eyes wide. And then, nothing. The rest of the roll was blank, as if the light had vanished from the room. Wei took the strip to a supervisor. Within hours, the film disappeared. No record of the image was ever filed. 3 days later, Wei Min resigned. Or was made to. Her name no longer appeared on the employee register. But she had kept a copy, scanned it, encrypted it, and 1 year later, she uploaded it, anonymously, to a dormant academic forum used by Cold War photography researchers. It sparked chaos. Some claimed it was a fake. Others said it was a deep fake planted to stir Western media. But a handful of experts noticed something the others missed. The watch on Xi's wrist. It matched exactly, down to the second, to a CCTV footage clip from a known speech he gave in Shanghai just 1 hour later. There was no way both events could have happened. Unless the Shanghai speech was pre-recorded. Unless the handshake was the real event. Unless what had been erased was never supposed to be seen. And the man he shook hands with? No one could identify him. Until someone from Germany posted a side-by-side comparison. This man, the caption read, was the last East German intelligence officer active after reunification. His name? Karl Wesser. Officially dead since 2002. Then why was he in Tianjin? Why was she meeting him? And why did every photo from that day suddenly go missing? The forum post only stayed online for 19 minutes. By the 20th, it was already scraped by 4 independent intelligence monitoring bots. The image, Xi Jinping shaking hands with a man allegedly dead for over a decade, had reached all the wrong inboxes. And one particular right one. Zhao Renshu, head of internal surveillance at the Central Propaganda Department, didn't even flinch. He simply picked up his phone and said, Level 3 Protocol. Archive, purge, and author trace. Back in Chaoyang, Wei Min's apartment was entered by unknown operatives. Her laptop was wiped. Her backup drives destroyed. But they were 2 hours late. Because Wei had sent a physical copy of the scan to a friend in Canada, a journalism grad student named Anna Lin. What she didn't know was, Anna was already flagged. 10 years earlier, her father had published a banned biography of a former Politburo member. Anna went dark within 48 hours. No social media. No credit card activity. No passport movement. Her university issued a formal notice. Anna Lin has voluntarily withdrawn from her studies for personal reasons. But behind that bureaucratic fog, something else stirred. A week later, a new photo surfaced, not the same one, but another from the same roll. This one showed Xi mid-laugh, holding a document folder, as Karl Vesser looked on with what seemed to be amusement, or perhaps knowing resignation. The caption was simple, "Frame 18." And this time, metadata embedded in the image told another story. Location: Tianjin Industrial Institute. Date stamp: November 7, 2011, 8:42. Photographer: ID 4369, L. W. Min. What made it damning wasn't the content, but the camera model. The only Canon unit capable of embedding that format was restricted for state use. Only 24 units existed in China at the time, and all were registered to official state media, which meant the photo was real, and so was the photographer. And suddenly, frame 18 wasn't just a curiosity. It was evidence. The kind no regime wants floating in the open. And across the ocean, in a small archive room in Toronto, a digital copy of the entire roll was already being decrypted, frame by frame. What would they find in frame 23? And more importantly, why did frame 24 look altered? Frame 23 was blurred. Not by motion, not by focus, by design. The image showed Karl Vesser turning his head toward the camera, lips parted as if mid-sentence. Xi Jinping's hand rested on the edge of the conference table, his fingers splayed unnaturally. But the strange part wasn't the pose. It was the background. The wall behind them, a beige panel commonly seen in party conference rooms, had subtle digital artifacts. Upon magnification, there were inconsistencies in the pixel distribution, as if someone had airbrushed over something. But what? Anna Lin's friend in Toronto uploaded the frame to an open-source forensic tool. It revealed the truth. Beneath the blur was another person, standing between Xi and Vesser. A woman. She wore a gray suit, her left hand on the table, a name badge just barely visible. The tool couldn't recover the badge text, but it started with the character Zhou. There were only 3 known senior party officials with that surname who could have attended such a meeting. 2 were accounted for elsewhere. The third, Zhou Liang, a cybersecurity specialist who had vanished from all records in late 2011. No obituary, no resignation, no photos past September of that year. Frame 23 showed she was there. Frame 24 confirmed she wasn't supposed to be, because frame 24 was fake. Identical in angle, lighting, and composition, but the woman was gone. The positioning of objects was slightly off. A coffee cup had shifted. The reflections on the glass frame in the background didn't match. Someone had recreated the shot to replace it, but they missed the reflections. And reflections don't lie. This discovery rippled through intelligence communities. Deepfake forensics teams from Australia to Norway started combing through state images from 2011, and they found more telltale traces of tampering in unrelated events. It wasn't just the handshake that had been removed. It was the woman, and whatever she represented. Because Zhou Liang wasn't just a cybersecurity analyst. She had co-authored an internal paper in 2010 titled "Trust Collapse in Post-Surveillance States." The thesis: when memory is editable, trust is a myth. That phrase became a rallying cry in private circles, and a problem for the state. Because now, people weren't asking if the handshake was real. They were asking, what else have we forgotten? The document wasn't classified. That was the disturbing part. It was labeled as routine. Internal Image Integrity Guidelines, Revision C, issued by the Central Committee's Department for Information Consistency. But buried on page 17 was something not meant for public eyes. Protocol 7GR. Nickname: Ghost Replacement. The text was vague, deliberately so. But the implications were chilling. The protocol authorized visual substitutions in historically sensitive visual media, citing public cohesion and ideological clarity as justifications. There was no mention of Zhou Liang by name, but there were references to Group 6 subjects who diverged from consensus alignment. Anna Lin's contact traced the document to a secure FTP server linked to Zhong Nanhai's internal policy hub. And the upload date? November 9, 2011. 2 days after the Tianjin Handshake. This meant the protocol wasn't just theoretical. It was triggered by something. And that something was likely Zhou. Across encrypted chat rooms, former intelligence officers began whispering about a silenced subgroup inside the CCP, one focused not on controlling information, but on shaping memory. A disbanded initiative known only by its internal codename, Mirror Path. Zhou Liang had been one of its architects. The idea: to preemptively alter historical records, not after events occurred, but during them. Photo archives, video broadcasts, live subtitles. All filtered. All modified in real time. It sounded impossible. Until now. Frame 24, the fake version, had been processed through a prototype MirrorPath system. And the proof came from an unlikely source. An archived training video from 2010. It showed Zhou giving a presentation to a room full of engineers. On the whiteboard behind her, predictive erasure and real-time visual substitution, a MirrorPath initiative. She was smiling, the last smile ever captured of her, because 5 days later she was gone. No death, no defection, no exile, just gone. And the final line of Protocol 7GR? Absence is the most elegant form of correction. The building had no name, only a number, Unit 061. Buried beneath a public records office in western Beijing, Unit 061 wasn't on any registry. It wasn't guarded, because no one knew it existed. That was the point. Inside was the archive. Not the National Archives. Not military. Something stranger. Rows of temperature-controlled vaults, filled not with documents, but with gaps. Videotapes that began in the middle of sentences. Photographs without dates. Audio logs with no speaker names. Hard drives labeled only with time codes, no context, no summaries. Anna Lin's friend had been tracking the metadata tags embedded in Frame 24. One specific ID matched a subdirectory known only by a tag, 061 ERS. ERS stood for erasure, soft. Soft erasure wasn't deletion. It was obfuscation. The process of making a thing technically present, but logically inaccessible. The scan of the Tianjin Handshake had been stored there, fragmented into 64 data blocks, each encrypted under a different regime. But one of those blocks had leaked. And now, the archive was behaving strangely. External servers began logging ghost traffic, pings from nowhere. AI transcription tools began pulling keywords like Carl, Zhou, and MirrorPath from random TV broadcasts that had nothing to do with politics. Someone, or something, was calling the pieces back together. Unit 061 was sealed within 72 hours. But the leak had reached the public. Not loudly, not virally, just enough. In obscure academic forums. In encrypted podcast RSS feeds. In captioning errors on public broadcasts in Sweden, Chile, and Kazakhstan. The Tianjin image had become a pattern. And then, one final act. A second photo emerged. Taken from the opposite angle, Xi Jinping, Karl Vesser, and Zhou Liang. But this time, all three laughing. Unscripted. Natural. Impossible to fake. Because the image had been printed on film. Analog. Uneditable. It arrived by mail to a single recipient. Wei Min. Now living under a different name in the Netherlands. She never spoke to the press. But one line was later attributed to her in a leaked conversation. I didn't leak a photo. I leaked a memory that refused to be buried. And in Unit 061, that memory still waits. Uncatalogued. Unclaimed. Unerased. So, what was erased? A meeting? A mistake? Or a message meant for no one but remembered by everyone? In a world where control is power, and memory is negotiable, The things they delete often speak louder than the things they allow. And sometimes, a single image is more dangerous than 1,000 words. Brain, if this story made you wonder what else might be missing, subscribe to Hidden Xi, because we don't just tell stories, we ask why they stopped telling them.